What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part, I want to say 27 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Elspeth von Draken Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, we did a little bit of Lord sniping as Elspeth von Draken gunned Mr. Lokir Felhart out of the sky, and then we repeated the same thing with Malekith up north around Nagorond, and also with Valkia around Ashrak, all gunned down before they could reach our battle lines, though in the case of Malekith at least, as I recall, it was quite close, as his resistances were pretty darn crazy. I suppose if he had had access to Soul Stealer, then, well, or if he had used it, he might have been able to stick around a little bit longer. But anyway, not important right now. What we got to do this time, we got to take Hag Graef, and Land Admiral Zintler is poised to do so. We also have... Wait, I think this might actually be the only thing that we need to do this particular turn, or at the very least, the only direct action we need to take this particular turn, so I guess we could jump right into it. Let's level you up, Zintler. Not that I think you'd need it here, sir, but, you know, couldn't hurt, let's say. And get your gun sight, get you always ready, trying to get you moving towards deadly onslaught, and might as well level up your NGs as well. Though by the looks of it, they don't need too much in the way of levels either. You, sir, are missing Hard to Hit, I guess. And, ooh, Mentor on the Jade Wizard. We'll definitely take that. And let's do Shield of Thorns. I mean, it's somewhat likely that if one of our artillery pieces gets trapped, or one of our tanks, or landships, rather, gets trapped, then they might need a Shield of Thorns to reflect some of the melee damage coming in. Hard to Hit on the other engineer as well, and I believe we're good to go. Now, I mean, I guess we'll do this manually. I think that it'll be very buggy because, well, yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how well it works, then, and as usual, if it gets too buggy, we'll do it regular style, and if not, well, then we'll consider it sufficient. Go. Alright, here we go. Just a short battle, I'm sure, to resolve our auto-resolve woes. Though it does look like the enemy is at least firing back with their towers. Those Reaper Bolt Thrower projectiles coming down on our landships, but we can simply out-heal them. And on top of that, the towers are going down pretty darn quick as well, just like the enemy walls. Obviously, we could have done this non-cinematically, but I'm kind of curious as to how this will look cinematic-wise due to the desyncs, as to whether they'll affect the degree to which they'll affect us here. Anyway, the tower has gone down, or yet another tower has gone down, and one remains. Our airships are heading towards the enemy, while a little bit of Black Arc support touches down upon our landships and tanks, but that's not a big deal. Looks like the enemy is trying to fire back with their dark shards as our two airships move towards them together, but I just don't think they have the damage, or at least they don't with the Jade Wizard supporting the ships. Also, what's the armor on these things? 90. It's not bad. I mean, I guess you can't armor them too heavily, as they will they'll have a difficult time staying in the air. Anyway, looks like the enemies are trying to book it on out of there in a big blob up the ramp and away from the airships which are moving towards them. And, well, they best run, because we're going right over those walls, and we're going to continue firing at the enemy with cannon and grudge raker alike. Once again, I always love how when going over walls and obstacles for the airships, I do like how there's an extra dimension. They're not just sort of flat with the ground, but they go up and down, which I appreciate. I wish there was a little bit more of that in the game for flying units. But anyway, Thunder Barges continue doing work. The enemy will try to run. We're going to pop an Awakening of the Wood here. I believe this is due to the desync, the fact that that it didn't quite hit where it was supposed to, but it doesn't really matter. It was only used to try to slow the enemy down as they attempted to escape from the barges, who are relatively okay in terms of HP due to all the healing they're receiving. Anyway, keep chasing the enemy down. We've also... we can also start moving our tanks and our land ships in a bit. Okay, this is obviously a desync issue. Okay, I guess we'll see. We'll see whether these guys can actually move or not. It looks like they're firing upon some stuff up here. Ooh. I can certainly see how desync might be a problem if the unit that they were ordered to attack remained up on the wall. But I guess it doesn't really matter. Once again, the airships are doing most of the work right now. And pretty darn good at taking fortified locations like this. In fact, against a lot of enemy factions that don't have a lot of anti-air, like against various chaos forces, especially with the AI not tending to build anti-air, these things would be really nasty in sieges, wouldn't they? As they're clearly showing, this is against the Dark Elves, who have plenty of anti-air and a lot of it armor-piercing. Add to that. Alright, and keep on gunning them down, and keep on getting those heals from our wizard. There we go, those poor dark shards. But hey, at least they stood. I'm gonna activate our thunder burners and try to move forward a little bit, just ignoring the remnants of this little unit, as it's pretty much done for anyway. Yeah, looks like our land ships and our tanks are stuck outside the settlement, with the exception of this one. That's quite interesting. Not that they're needed here, mind you, but interesting to see. Okay, well, whatever. Whatever. We'll allow our ships to do their work. Or continue doing the work, I should say, since they've pretty much been doing that anyway throughout the battle. And gun everybody down, and all the enemy can do is run. I suppose if they stand to fight, they will just get gunned down anyway. Now, at this point in the battle, I believe there were a pile of units here, so I used the dwellers below to try to clear them out. But that's alright, even if they're not there right now, we can simply drop bombs on them from the ships. And let's see here. Huh, well that's interesting, the Jade Wizard landed. Okay, this never happened. I don't think I ever ordered him to land either, that's quite curious. Not super relevant, but curious. Alright, well, I do believe with that the battle is pretty much done. I think next time we run into one of these, I'll do it manually, but since it was just an easy little fight, we won't count it as an actual battle for this episode, and we'll get plenty more other battles, proper battles, instead. It's just a matter of the sieges being desynced, and, well, that's been happening since the very beginning, and only some of the sieges really work decently well. Anyway, battle should end any second now, as these guys have stopped moving, and... Huh. How'd the Lord take so much damage? Did he take the damage fighting the engineers? That's quite curious. And, alright, there we go. Just ignore the desync. Next time we'll do... The next one of these we'll do manually. Alright, not too bad, not too bad. We basically took no damage to that, though, I mean, we did really take some damage, it's just that we were able to continuously heal it up with our life mage. Anyway, we're gonna occupy the place rather than sacking it, just to... Oh. Really? This thing got destroyed? The one thing that we wanted to keep? Of course it did. Of course it did. Okay, well, Foundry, I like ya, but we'll need Public Order and the Face of Hag Graef here as well. So we'll start with the tap room so that the place can exist. And I guess we can immediately start building the Imperial Harbor, though it is pretty darn expensive, just because it's going to take so long to actually build it. It actually makes me think that maybe we want to go for Imperial Architects, maybe before the Scion of the Empire, and just to reduce that construction time. It's not a crazy amount, mind you, but it's enough to speed up all of these new red territories a little bit. And I think that has a value. Anyway, I believe that's all for this turn, which means we can end it and proceed. I also wonder where Eltharion will go now that we've taken the stuff. Ooh, Kugath. Where will you go? Will you go for Gelt? And will Gelt get a fight? Yes, indeed you will. And ooh, you got ambushed by Gelt. That's probably quite unfortunate for you, sir. We'll see how well you're able to hold on to that. Now, you do have a decent pile of rotflies, so we do have to still be wary of them. And lots of bigger units, which unfortunately means not so much effectiveness from Gelt, generally speaking, but nonetheless. We haven't seen a lot of ambushes in this campaign, so we gotta enjoy this one while we can. Go.
Men of the Empire, I am no warrior priest blessed with the gift of making grand speeches. For the good of the Empire, fight! Bring me victory!
Alrighty, here we go. One of the rare ambushes that we get, and against Kugath it should be pretty reasonably effective. We've set up where the hills protect our line with our Grundle's Defenders and Eldred's Guard, and just melee troops. Up front, the line of Amethyst Ironsides behind them, and then the regular Ironsides behind them. Afterwards, the enemy will head directly towards us immediately, while Gelt annoys as many of the enemies as he can, with various spells, starting with Gehenna's Golden Hounds, follow up with Final Transmutation. And of course, the enemy Plague Bearers are going to have to contend with a lot of grenade work. It's not going to be as effective as the Amethyst grenade launchers, or as the Bordermen, perhaps, but effective nonetheless. Anyway, massive piles of flyers moving towards us, cannon fire and gunfire alike, hoping to knock them out of the sky. This kind of reminds me of Gargoyle Assault from the Tyranids in 40k. Although perhaps not with quite as many numbers as we might encounter with the Neds, but nonetheless, certainly reminds me of it. Gun them down, guardsmen. Do your best. Alright, well, it looks like a decent amount of them landed, but it was appropriate to keep the Amethyst Ironsides up front. The units that didn't land upon the melee troops then landed on the second line of the Amethyst Ironsides, which are pretty darn okay in melee, and very heavily armored, especially when we drop that glittering robe from Gelt, which I believe only costs 2 mana when upgraded. He can effectively keep it going for the entire battle. Gelt himself has stopped one of the enemy units of Rotflies up in the air, just so that they don't touch down, and it looks like they're pretty much done for. Alright, out here some Plague Toads and Plague Ogres have made it in, but they're slowly getting gunned down, and we're ridden over by the tank here, while our anti-large units hold the line. Oh, and there were some Bile Trolls in there as well. Barely even noticed them. Very nice, very nice. Now, there is a Soul Grinder of Nurgle firing upon us. It looks like he actually wants to take shots at Gelt for some reason. Seems like a waste of the anti-infantry fire, but that's alright. Out here, all 4 of the enemy Plague Bearers units are still being led away by these Outriders with grenade launchers. They've taken damage due to Kugath firing upon them, but that's definitely worth it. Losing, what? 10 units of the Outriders with grenade launchers to keep all of those units away, and that works out really nicely. Now, Kugath also had a couple of exalted heroes, but just like the Nurglings out here, they decided to escape the battle, rather than fight, which is pretty bad for him, I would say. Plague Ogres have made it back in, as this is the two-handed weapon variety. But they are against halberdiers and greatswords here, and will continue taking gunfire from our other units as well. We're peeling our Outriders away now. Gelt will continue with his magical support with another Gehenna's Golden Hound in the midst of them, while our cannons continue to fire upon them as well. There is zero likelihood, I would say, that these Plague Bearers will ever reach our main line now, as they are way, way too far and will have to continue taking shots from our cannons. Out here, Kugath is still, well, in pretty darn decent shape, but it's Kugath. It's going to take a lot of effort to bring him down, and thus we're bringing down everything else instead. Alrighty, there we go. Now it's time to start repositioning our range forces to go after Kugath. All of our gun line will set up and start firing upon him, whether it be tanks or Ironsides, Amethyst or regular. There we go, and Kugath has begun to crumble away, though that doesn't mean it still won't take a fair few number of shots to knock him down. Looks like he still wants to turn and go after those poor Outriders, but they were such a thorn in his side. Ooh, nice impact from one of our tanks there. I didn't even know where that shot came from out here. Oh, it was probably that tank, yeah. Anyway, Kugath just constantly getting staggered from hits from every direction, and at last will go down. Okay, a few more seconds and then we'll go down. There we go. Lovely, and with that, his army is destroyed. Bad luck for him that the ambush actually worked out, but good luck for us. I mean, we would have won the regular battle anyway, but I would have liked to have seen the ambush, so I'm happy about it. And, ah, damn. Wanted to see the last ogre go down. A close victory, apparently, but probably due to ammunition and mana expenditure. And then anything else, I don't imagine we took all that much damage. Maybe a little bit to some of our melee troops. Nice. Alrighty, there we go. Kugath may not have been quite as resistant to range fire as Malekith was, but he has a much bigger HP pool, so it still took quite the while to bring him. And down. That said, the rest of his forces fell pretty easily, I would say. Get a little bit of nice action for our melee line, and our Eldred's Guard with their super heavy armor also held quite admirably. I do think that the enemy army would have done better, a lot better perhaps, if the Exalted Heroes were to bum rush our lines and essentially go through our melee and into our range units, but alas, the two mortal followers decided to abandon Kugath and just peace out of there, rather than facing our ambush, which I did find pretty hilarious, so I'm mollified by that, if nothing else. Pardon Captives versus Praise Sigmar again, while we are... Wait, are we in our own territory? I'm gonna assume that we are in Pardon the Captives. Yes, we are. Okay, good. And Greasy's still over there, but he wants peace. That's not gonna happen, though.
Wissenland can wait. Our meeting cannot.
Wissenland can wait. Anyway, join war against the war host of Jar. No, they're a little bit far. The Jar are too far, so decline this for now, and Miao Ying, just try not to die up there. I mean, we're doing a lot of work for you, bailing you out against the Blessed Dread, so you better be able to hold the Great Bastion at least. You have a favorable defensive position, even though the AI is admittedly somewhat lackluster about doing so. Recruiting surplus, we are... Are we actually recruiting anything else right now? Or do we need to? Probably not. We'll see who the fool is. Who is the fool? War Fervor. What do we get out of that? Defeating Kugath? Yeah, it's not a particularly crazy useful trait, I will admit. Somebody's ready for duty, an army receives plague, that's all fine. Where are you going, Altharian? Where are you going? Go grab the Altar of Ultimate Darkness or something. Can I tell you to do this? Nah, would he go that far to do it, though? Really, if he could just grab anything that isn't out of the territories that we're currently attempting to hold, that would be just suavely. Though, no guarantee of him doing so. And, ow! Valkia has returned. Well, damn. I think we might have to... Well, yeah, we can't have her knock out the sky junks, and I guess we gotta go near them anyway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna... Oh, I was gonna say pop you into ambush. We're just gonna go over here, and then next turn transfer the sky junks. Might lose one of these places to an army in reprisal, but, well, this is kind of my fault for leaving Valkia back here, or rather leaving Nagrar back there. Between the episodes, I did borrow this army from our Kislevites allies, mostly because it was cheap, since it was like a half stack, and hopefully we can use them to take Nagrar, and then not have to deal with, you know, Valkia randomly popping up behind our forces. Attack us head on, Valkia. This is what Khorne would want anyway. Anyway, Elspeth, you are not staying down here. We'll leave our auto-resolve army to take these territories, as I don't imagine the enemy will be defending them all that much. We'll have Elspeth take out Lorsatel here, especially in full speed stance, and then start moving on up north. It does look like the Cathians are doing a decent job taking the territories up there. It may behoove us to... Okay, wait, let's just... pardon captives, I guess. Okay, what was I gonna say? Yeah, we could do something like everything south of the river here will belong to us, and everything north of it can remain in Cathayan hands, something like that. They've already taken a decent amount of territory here, though they've got some good trade goods. I mean, we're fine. We're fine, though we are now down below 9,000 gold per turn. Our army upkeep is 116,000. The extra 2 or 3 lords that we've got that are sort of ferrying stuff around right now are causing a bit of an issue due to that. Anyway, Elspeth, you can land. And then I guess we could... Oh. Maybe we actually send you back around to Lee Temple if we want to hold everything south of the river. Certainly potential for it. Anyway, you, sir, go here. Looks like you can reach the Tower of Ashung next turn without our intervention, or without us having to actually fight. Yeah, we're fine. Alright. That looks good. Land Admiral Zintler. I guess you should knock out the forces at the Temple of Cain. It's a single army. And Nagaron doesn't have too much in the way of armies left, and we should probably do it for us. That'll probably do it for us. Go for Temple of Cain and hope that there isn't an army parked somewhere up here. What do we have in here, by the way? Oh, it's actually a fairly decent stack. We might actually fight this, despite the fact that they stand no chance against these guys. And, oh, you're actually gonna have to move the Skyjunks down here. Damn, I got my armies confused. But oh well, we still have to hunt down Valkia. There's really no escaping it, so yeah. Also, we have the Underworld Sea Lane. We could, in fact, take the sea lane with, for example, Deconstructor Zintler, once he heals up fully. Go that way. Only potential for it. You know what, let's take Kragroth Deep with you. You should still heal up because this is our own territory, and then we'll probably move through Circle of Destruction and out to that place. I guess we should tell Eltharion to occupy something, but it shouldn't be Harkaldra, rather. We could try Rakdo Gorge. I don't really want Rakdo Gorge, but, I wonder if he'd be willing. Give it a try. See if he lands. If he lands and see what he does, go for it. It's just too much territory up here to hold, and certainly not territory that we want or particularly care about, so yeah, it's just the landmarks that we wanted. Anyway, Andreas Meyer, you are moving through Elven territory for another turn at least. The encamp stance does not increase your healing, sadly, but you can channel and move, and you weren't full up on mana anyway, so that's fine. Who's up next? You, sir. Do we take the Bleeding Spire? If we could get these guys to trade the Monolith of Bubonicus to us, we could trade it back to the Kislevites. Might be the better way to do it. Oh, wow, look at these guys. They managed to take Uzkalak back. I was going to trade it to them, and they took it themselves. That's just lovely. Good job. Go for the Bleeding Spire. We'll take it ourselves, and then we'll continue moving down this way. I mean, this is what this army has to do now. Wasn't really what it was built for, but it'll work. Occupy the place. We don't need the Trickster Shard on you. I think I can find a better place to put that on you, but we'll figure it out later, as I don't want to bog us down too much with item distribution. As I do that between the episodes, typically. Now, you, sir. You cannot reach Shattered Stone Isle by land or by sea, and you have a plague reducing your melee defense, armor, and ammunition. Not great, but at least the ammunition thing won't really affect our army. Keep proceeding this way. You should be able to take Shattered Stone. Ooh, hello. They've got an army out there. Ooh, they've got Toad Dragons there. Oh, this should be very interesting. Toad Dragons and a Great Unclean One versus this particular army. I like it a lot. I was excited about the prospect of these guys actually having some decent forces, and by the looks of it, they certainly do. Kill Greasus. We're obviously not fighting that. It's a waste of our time. We will, however, yeah. And salvage munitions. Alright, and income from trade tariffs 10. Lovely. A little bit of extra cash. And then I guess head into Knobbly Gorge to make sure that you heal up. We also actually have to build up this army properly, but for now, it'll do as it is. until we can get units in here. Then, you, sir...
I serve no master. We travel the winds of Hish.
You have no master. Disagree. Ulrich Puttkamer, you... Oh, man. Is this all attrition-y here? Alright, fine. I guess I'll have to suffer a turn of attrition. Not a big deal. A little bit annoying, but not a big deal. You still have to get to Gelt. This army was only here to bait the enemy, which it did so successfully. And I guess we could move to... Ooh, hello. Are you in range of this army? Yes, you are. That's fantastic. Who is this? Okay, I thought that was Drajuath. In fact, what is Drajuath doing? I see... Oh. Huh, the elves failed at taking Bitter Bay. Likely meaning... That was the Fortress of Vorag, perhaps sacked by Drajuath, because they had a full stack here. Imric did, I mean. But he doesn't anymore. Well, either way, you're gonna go after this. Though, being at the edge of your range, we then need to... Okay, no. Start with Gelt, start with Gelt. Gelt, go here, destroy this army.
I shall be victorious.
Could be auto-resolvable. We need to see if there are other armies nearby. And because if we move to the max range of that particular army, it could be an issue. Go here. Are you still able to reach scrap towers? Yes, indeed you are. So hit the scrap towers. And heroic victory, low casualties. He's got 2 great unclean ones, and Noxbringer soul grinding. Yeah, you know what? That might also be worth fighting, especially since Gelt's army at the current time isn't the strongest. Let's say. Flayed Rock. Oh, it's got decent defenders. Do we need to keep these great swords? So this army was going to be very melee heavy, but I don't know whether it would be great sword melee heavy or halberdier melee heavy. I haven't decided yet, and they've already got a decent pile of melee troops already. I don't think so. I think if we end up needing the great swords, we can always just recruit them. Out. Oh, there we go. 5,000 gold. Oh, the supply lines have gotten pretty darn crazy. Anyway. Looks like this is the only army out here, which works for us, meaning Boris von Sighofen can attack this. Do we need to fight this manually? I don't know. Guess we're about to find out. If it's low casualties, yes. If it's not low casualties, no. Medium casualties, Pyrrhic victory, and the Tatter Souls will die. Well, I think that answers the question, folks. Did I say that backwards? But anyway, I guess we're gonna have to fight this. Just a real quick battle, but hey, piles of Plague Bearers versus piles of Flagellants might be fun. Go. Did he just say, look to the sky, a bloody moon? There's no moon at all, sir. You need to have your eyes checked. Oh, maybe he's just being poetic, but anyway. Here we go. Once again, the Flagellant army will get to work, and it's interesting that the Flagellant army keeps getting these dark maps, in particular because this army has a lot of glowing weapons, so they are the light in the darkness. Whether it's appropriate for the Doom cultists or not, I am not sure, but, well, fighting in the dark might be appropriate for them, so it all works out. Anyway, we're gonna move in a big old pile. The enemy does not have access to too much in the way of spells, just the fleshy abundance, and that's because you're a lord, aren't you? So that's not a damaging spell, so we don't really care about what the enemy could do, and that means we can keep our piles of units together, and thus heavily armored and buff and whatnot. 76 melee attack on the Tattersouls and 54 armor as well, pretty nice, and we can get it up even further. Out here we've moved our 2 flyers out, the 2 Empire captains, to start fighting the Furies up in the air, just so that they don't land in the midst of our formation, and we're going to use the kettle Kettle's Call and to call some Great Hawks and help out the matter. The Furies aren't really a threat to the Empire Captains, mind you, but the Empire Captains don't have enough splash damage to bring down too many of these things. They've already been fighting for a while and it just takes too long. As the Great Hawks, however, charge in, the Furies drop like flies, and the unit is pretty much immediately destroyed. These are summoned units, of course, so we'll land them upon the enemy and try to dish out some damage before the units disappear. I do believe we can summon them twice on the field, so there's that. See how much damage you can do? Probably won't be much, but hey, it'll be a little bit of a distraction as the rest of our forces move in, and they are nearly here at last. Some Bile Trolls are going to charge towards some of our Flagellants and are going to get countercharged by the Zotes and the Knights of the Everlasting Light alike. And once again, gotta love those debuffs, and as soon as the rest of our units move in, we'll stack them even further. Though 34 melee attack is still solid on the Trolls, we only have Warrior Bane right now. Glittering Scales are missing. I guess one of the Warrior Priests has not yet closed the distance. The two Empire Captains will try to go after the enemy Lord in the midst of the formation, while the rest of our piles of units just glow. This army is also really glowy, isn't it? I mean, and not just the weapons, but all the effects that we use upon them. But hey, it works for me. We get the Wissen's wild form upgraded, giving us a massive increase of armor. Once again, plus 35, pushing the Tattersouls up to 89 armor. Heavily armored Flagellants. Works for me. I guess one of the issues was small issues, I guess, with this army is it's kind of hard to see what the heck is going on sometimes because there's so many effects coming down. I used to, for the last little while, use the sort of, Soulfire coming down. Grand Soulfire, actually. That's a Searing Doom, not a Soulfire back there. What was I saying? I used to use the mod that... This is a Glittering Robe, as I was saying. Lots and lots of effects. 123 armor now with the Glittering Robe. And if we really wanted to, we could combine Glittering Robe with the Wissen's Wild form, but it's better to sort of space them out. A, because we have limited mana, and B, because we have the... we want to have the additional armor on them basically at all times, so that this way we can hover around 100 armor pretty much the entire time with the blob. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Yes, for the last little while, for the last few campaigns, I have been using sort of an anti-effect mod. I'm not using it for these campaigns because, well, these campaigns obviously started when the DLC dropped, and using a mod there would be not possible because it wouldn't have been compatible. And now, introducing the mod so late into the campaign, I'm not sure it would work, and I certainly don't want to corrupt the save or anything like that. So the next campaigns will probably go back to using the effect reduction mod. It doesn't mean there are no effect reduction, it doesn't mean there are no effects, but it does mean less of it happening on the screen, just to allow you to see better, and none of these runes, the targeting runes, as I feel like they're egregious and unnecessary. Anyway, the enemy army's in pretty bad shape now, and funnily enough, our Tattersouls and our Flagellants in general are looking pretty okay. The most damage coming in is to one of our units of Knights of the Everlasting Lights, which have lost Everlasting Light, rather, which have lost about half their HP, but very few models there, so they're just fine. And just they'll heal to basically full at the end of the battle. And despite all the charges of those Trolls and the Plague Bearers, in theory, being vastly superior to the Flagellants, our buffs do allow the Flagellants to hold the day and not lose out on too much HP. When the buffs aren't going too crazy, this army does look really cool with the glowing weapons, though. I'm kind of divided on that matter. Yeah, I really need to get rid of those targeting runes. Honestly, the game should have that as a toggle, and whether those appear or not. But anyway, there we go. Nice little battle. More of the Nurglite forces fallen, this time to our own frenzied forces of Flagellants. And quite effectively, I'm excited to get these guys into more combat, though, because I've been having a lot of fun with this particular army. Especially because you have to think how you approach every single battle with them, as unlike, let's say, the Landship army, mistakes will cost you dearly here. Alright, very nice. The Flagellants may be normally pretty darn fragile, but, well, we're not losing too many of them. We're certainly making this army. Where granted, it took a lot of effort to get here, a ton of aura stacking and specific support units to compensate for the Flagellants' weaknesses, but nonetheless, it's a flavorful army that exists for lore accurate, sort of, because of the support units. Reasons, and I like the way it works. Would it be stronger if we just replaced all the Flagellants with great swords and kept everything the same? Yeah, of course it would, but, well then why not just replace everything with tanks or land ships? It wouldn't be all that fun if we did it that way. Anyway, pardon captives, praise Sigmar, might as well heal up to full. Especially since we're liable to pick up plagues, and by the looks of it, we'll suffer attrition next turn as well. Can't escape that. Alrighty, but it does look like Kugath is very much in trouble. You can't go into any kind of stance. What about March stance? Ah, so close. All of this is attrition-y? I was hoping you could get back to pig barter. I'm going to assume that Gelt... Wait, maybe we... Maybe we can auto-resolve this one. I have a feeling it's going to heavily damage our tanks. You know, let's take a look at what battles we have, and then which ones look auto-resolvable versus which ones not so much. Alright, Gelt will Gelt will probably want to move to Flayed Rock, and he'll want to go north as fast as he can, because we still have to deal with all of this up here. Before Greasus gets more armies up and running, which I'm sure he will, sooner rather than later as well. Especially now that he lost his, well, his own personal stack. That said, this battle versus this battle. Wait, this battle. I was like, what the heck? Close victory, but low casualties. Oh, okay, well, we have to fight this battle because it'll kill off our war wagons and thunder barges. Or thunder barge, at least. I wonder why that one. Curious, but what can you do? And then... I mean, this isn't Gelt's real army form, so I feel like maybe this... but it's got great unclean ones, game. It's got great unclean ones. Nah, maybe we fight them both. Alright, I don't know whether we have time to do so this particular episode, though, as we are rapidly running out of time. I mean, assuming that I do the building, but, well, actually, there's not that much building. You know, if we jump in on it right now, we could do it, even though we're very much out of time. Let's do it real quick. Go. Wait, is this... Oh, wait, if this is a minor settlement battle, and I don't know that it is. Construction slots, defenses... I'm just double-checking that Nurgle territories don't automatically become minor settlements. I don't think that they do. Guess we're about to find out. Doesn't say anything about walls, so... Or minor settlement battles. Go. Alright, come on, Gelt, you're supposed to say, I'll turn your bones to gold. We've had you for a while now, and you haven't said it a single time. I just want to hear it. But anyway, here we go. I'm pretty excited about this particular battle. I imagine, due to the forces arrayed against us, it'll be tougher than the fight against Kugath. A, because they're not ambushed. B, because there's a lot of them. And C, because there's a lot of big boys, and melee big boys, that can head into combat with us. A couple of those great unclean ones, the Toad Dragon, lots and lots of flyers, that Soul Grinder Regiment of Renown in here somewhere. There it is, the Noxbringer. But we do have a pretty darn decent position here. This particular map has sort of a cliffside over on one side of the map, effectively, and a nice sort of little dig-in location where we can fortify. It's also got a very slight amount of elevation, but it's just enough to allow our infantry to fire, or our missile infantry to fire over each other. Colors look a little bit weird because it's a Nurglite blessed location, and, well, it's appropriate to fight Nurgle in the Nurglite locations. So, anyway, here we go. Tanks are in front. The units of the Eldred's Guard and Grendel's Defenders in together with the tanks, simply because we want the heavily armored troops in front. Behind them are the Halberdiers, which do more damage than the spears, but are not nearly as heavily armored. Then we have the lines of the Amethyst Ironsides, the next armored unit, the armored missile infantry unit, and then the regular Ironsides behind them. Well, I mean, I suppose the regular Ironsides are armored too, but they're not as heavily armored, and what the heck is that? What is that? Huh, was that the... okay, it might have been a shot from the Noxbringer there. Just looks different, leaving some kind of poison cloud. Cloud of erosion. Ah, interesting. Armor, oh yeah, and destroys ammunition. Yeah, that's the Noxbringer. That destroys ammunition effect, I remember you. But anyway, if it's firing that upon our spears and such, it's not destroying any ammunition. It'd be funny if it destroyed other stuff, like the troops, like, I don't know, check their flasks and all their rum or whatever is gone, and their ale is gone. And they get really upset about it. Anyway, some flies move towards us, some rot flies slash plague drones. I didn't see which type it was, but they do get gunned down. The Noxbringer does continue to fire on us, and we have made a little bit of a separation between our troops, so that hopefully it doesn't damage too many of them, or the streams of corruption that the enemy will inevitably hit us with when they grow close. Don't dish out too much damage to too many. Noxbringer continues to fire, though. We would love to knock that thing out, but it's sort of accidentally in a really good position here. It's set up behind these trees, so it'll fire over the tree line where our cannons can't fire back at it. A really great setup by the AI, obviously not on purpose, but still impressive nonetheless. Gelt's dropped down to by about 40% of his HP now, constantly getting hit with Spirit Leeches as he flies around on Quicksilver. Which ain't great, because we're gonna have to back him off lest the Spirit Leeches and bring him down. Toad Dragon and the first of the Great Unclean Ones have sort of, well, not reached our line, but at least reached where we can target them and are very, very slowly attempting to move towards us. I think the Toad Dragon is still slowed down by the presence of the wooded territory here, and is getting staggered on top of that. It might have even got stuck on a... well, I don't think you can get stuck on a tree, but the Toad Dragon had a pretty bad day, let's say, and will get brought down long before it can reach us. Next is the Great Unclean One, who gets knocked down by those cannons, and with the cannons firing upon it, it's got that monstrous impact on it as well, down to 14 speed. I don't think that one's going to reach us. Either a cultist or an exalted hero got gunned down here. There's just a bloody spot remaining, so I'm not sure what it was, but I suppose it doesn't really matter all that much. That said, the enemy is now making moves as well. On the rightmost flank, Pox Riders of Nurgle, led by a cultist, have made their way in to attack the Halberdiers, and as soon as they get us locked in melee, the enemy activates 2 Blight Boils at the same time. How did they get enough mana to cast 2 of those? Damn. Well, with 2 of them coming down, this unit of Halberdiers is pretty much destroyed. It's not going to survive that. Gelt takes more hits from the cultist and is now down below half HP. Stream of Corruption coming in as some flyers have finally reached our lines and are looking to hit our range units in the back, and as I said, it's starting to look like a very nice battle indeed. Tanks are still out front and holding the line. We're going to have our great swords move in to deal with the flyers that just moved in, and if you're wondering where the greatswords came from, they were right here, held in reserve specifically for the situation of enemy air units getting through our range line and our melee line alike. Anyway, looks like the enemy's moving in. We're gonna counter them a little bit with a final transmutation from Gelt. And, ooh, another nice hit from that Noxbringer. Gonna have to reposition some of our units of Halberdiers to try to deal with the enemy, but the enemy will activate a Gate of Nurgle, and the Greater Gate of Nurgle right in the middle of our formation. Another Stream of Corruption will move through our Nuln Ironsides as the Great Gate of Nurgle will spit forth a Great Unclean One, vomit forth a Great Unclean One, I should say, who will head towards our Ironside. We're gonna try to gun the thing down. That's a lot of HP right in the middle of our battle lines, and Nurgle has has finally brought their A-game. Perhaps a little late, as Kugath has fallen and his territories are very much in danger of being taken over, but I'm glad to see Nurgle give us a very proper fight. And back here, the Great Unclean One continues to suffer shots from those cannons, but the other one is causing havoc in the middle of our line. The Cultist is down to half HP, and the Plague Drones, then the Pox Riders that he has brought with him, are heavily damaged now. Gelt activates that Glittering Robe for mere 2 mana, and everybody here will be very nice and heavily armored, though it's a little bit over-armoring the tanks, which are up to 265 armor because of it. That said, the battle is hardly over, as the slow movers are here at last. The Plague Bearers, exalted and non-exalted alike, move into combat or start vomiting their projectiles or chucking their projectiles at us. Looks like our tank dropped below 50% HP there and activated emergency repairs? Is that what happened here? Yeah, it activated emergency repairs. I saw the activation ability. Really gotta watch out for those exalted Plague Bearer projectiles. Yeah, the tanks can block a lot of shots, but they can still suffer a lot of damage if you're not careful. There we go. I believe that's another... Is this another final transmutation from Gelt, or is it... Yeah, it's another final transmutation, just to try to get into the biggest blob of enemies. At last, the Great Unclean One, summoned from the gate in the midst of our army, will drop, and the enemy has suffered enough damage to their army to begin melting away. Very, very nice fight. Definitely... Ooh, gotta be careful of gunning these guys down lest we damage our own tanks too heavily. Alrighty, and there we go. With that, the battle is ours. We certainly took some damage here. This unit of halberdiers got absolutely obliterated by a couple of blight boils, but fortunately it was the only one. Some of our Eldred's Guard took quite a bit of damage as well, despite their heavy armor and the additional armored support that Gelt offers. We can get them to be pretty darn tanky if we get that Luminarch in this army, assuming that we keep them in the army as well. I do really love the way, or the sort of color scheme of the Eldred's Guard as well. They've got the black and gold, and Gelt does love his gold, so certainly a reason to keep them. But we're putting 3 Luminarchs and 3 rocket batteries in here. We'll need room. Anyway, we'll figure it out as we go. A very, very nice fight indeed. Ooh, alrighty, there we are. I gotta say, I'm pretty darn happy I decided to take this particular battle. After all, that was a very fun fight. I loved our defensive position. I loved the fact that the enemy was able to breach our lines and actually try to rush through towards the back of the lines. The very nice use of that Gate of Nurgle, or Exalted Gate of Nurgle, or Greater Gate of Nurgle, whatever the hell it's called, that summoned the Great Unclean One in the midst of our Ironsides and prevented them from firing for some time. That Exalted hero, that Cultist rather, pushing through as well. It was all very nice. Well done. Well done to the Poxmakers. Happy about the fight. And we will occupy the place for our trouble. Mission successful from Hargwalon. It must have been absolute ages ago that we took that mission, because I don't even remember that happening. Also, how close are we to our next Eldred's Guard? You have 4 turns still. Still a fair bit, but that's okay. We could actually replace the Outriders with Bordermen if we wanted to, but, well, Gelt's Luminarchs are coming, which would have really helped against those big units, at the very least, and they're on the way. We could do the summoning of the purple, or the amethyst rocket batteries, but I think we'll have to consider that, and we will have to consider it next time, because we're out of time, and then once again, I'm going to have to call the episode here. And great battles from Kugath. We got at least one more from the Poxmakers here, those Toad Dragons. I wonder if they'd just be willing to attack Helmut Feuerbach's army. We'll have to find out next time. And, of course, the battles everywhere else still continue. The Badlands are still an absolute mess, so we'll still have to continue getting to work on those. Stay tuned for more Elspeth. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.